I should have known something was wrong when Lauren spent 45 minutes picking out earrings for her company dinner. My wife never cared that much about jewelry unless she was trying to impress someone who wasn't me. "How do I look?" she asked, spinning in front of our bedroom mirror. The black cocktail dress hugged her curves perfectly, and her blonde hair cascaded over her shoulders in waves that probably cost more than my truck payment. "Like you're trying too hard," I said, adjusting my tie. "It's just dinner with your coworkers, right?" Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Her smile flickered for just a second. "Right, just dinner." Lauren worked as a marketing VP at Cartwright Industries, a mid-sized tech company downtown. I'd been hearing about her coworkers for months, especially Adam Voss, the golden boy who was supposedly next in line for CEO. The way she talked about him, you'd think he walked on water and turned it into wine for good measure. The drive to Cartwright's penthouse suite was quiet, except for Lauren's nervous fidgeting with her phone. She kept checking messages, always angling the screen away from me. When we pulled up to the valet, she practically jumped out before I'd even put the car in park. "Eager to see your work family?" I asked. "Don't be weird tonight, Ethan," she said, not looking at me. "These people are important to my career." The penthouse was exactly what you'd expect from a tech CEO trying to prove his worth. Floor-to-ceiling windows, modern art that looked like a toddler's finger painting, and enough chrome to blind a pilot. About 20 people were scattered around the main room, all holding wine glasses and speaking in that particular tone people use when they are trying to sound more important than they actually are. Lauren immediately gravitated toward a group near the windows. I recognized Adam Voss from the company photos she'd shown me. Tall, dark hair, perfectly styled, wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. He had that confident smile that said he'd never been told no in his life. "Lauren," Adam's voice carried across the room. "And this must be the famous husband." "Famous?" "Right." I walked over and extended my hand. "Ethan Graves." Adam's handshake was firm, the kind designed to establish dominance. "Adam Voss. I've heard so much about you." "Funny. I could say the same." Lauren shot me a warning look, but Adam just laughed. "Lauren tells us you're in construction. That must be fulfilling." The condescension dripped from his voice like honey from a broken jar. I'd heard that tone before, usually from people who thought working with your hands somehow made you less intelligent than pushing papers around an office. "It pays the bills," I said. "Someone has to build the buildings where the important people work." "How refreshingly humble," Adam said, taking a sip of his wine. "Though I suppose we all can't be executives." I was about to respond when an older man approached our group. This had to be Cartwright himself, nervous energy, thinning hair, and the look of someone who spent too much time worrying about quarterly reports. "Adam, I see you've met Lauren's husband," Cartwright said, his voice carrying a slight tremor. "Just getting acquainted," Adam replied. "We were discussing the dignity of manual labor." A few people nearby chuckled, and I felt Lauren tense beside me. This was exactly what she'd been afraid of, me embarrassing her in front of her precious colleagues. "Actually," I said, keeping my voice casual, "I'm not really in construction anymore. I moved into investments a few years back." "Investments?" Adam's eyebrow arched. "What kind of investments?" "Real estate mostly, some business acquisitions. You know how it is. Buy low, sell high." "How fascinating," Adam said, though his tone suggested it was anything but. And here I thought Lauren had married a simple contractor. The group laughed again, and I saw Lauren's cheeks flush red, but not from embarrassment, from anger. At me. "Adam," she said quickly, "maybe we should—" No, Adam interrupted, warming to his theme. "I'm genuinely curious about Ethan's business ventures. Tell me, what's the biggest deal you've ever made?" I could feel the attention of the room focusing on us. This was Adam's show, his chance to humiliate the blue-collar husband in front of everyone. Lauren was practically vibrating with mortification. "Well," I said, pretending to think about it, "probably when I bought 92% of a struggling tech company about 3 years ago. The CEO was desperate for capital, and I got shares at a steep discount." Adam's smile never wavered. 92%? That's quite a claim. What company?" "This one." The words hung in the air like smoke from a gun. Adam's wine glass stopped halfway to his lips. Cartwright's face went white as printer paper. "I'm sorry. What?" Adam's voice had lost its confident edge. "Cartwright Industries," I said, looking directly at him. "I own 92% of it. Mr. Cartwright can confirm that if you'd like." Every conversation in the room had stopped. 20 pairs of eyes were staring at us, and I could practically hear the gears turning in their heads as they tried to process what I just said. Cartwright cleared his throat. It's true. Mr. Graves is our majority shareholder. The silence stretched like taffy. Adam's face had gone through several colors, finally settling on a pale green that matched the abstract painting behind him. You're serious, Adam said. Pretty serious. Which brings me to something I've been meaning to discuss. I turned to address the room. As majority shareholder, I have certain privileges regarding company personnel decisions. Ethan, Lauren whispered, grabbing my arm. What are you doing? I gently removed her hand. Adam, effective immediately. You're terminated. Performance issues. Adam's wine glass slipped from his fingers and shattered on the marble floor. You can't. I can and I am. Security will escort you out. I looked at Lauren, whose mouth was hanging open. And Lauren, that promotion you were expecting? Consider it indefinitely postponed. The room erupted in whispers and shocked murmurs. Adam stood there like a statue, his face cycling through disbelief, rage, and something that might have been fear. This is insane, Adam said. You can't just... Actually, I can. It's amazing what 92% ownership gets you. I straightened my tie and looked around the room. Enjoy the rest of your dinner, everyone. I have some paperwork to handle. I headed for the door, leaving behind a room full of stunned faces and one very angry wife. As I waited for the elevator, I could hear Lauren's voice rising above the crowd, trying to explain, trying to apologize, trying to salvage something from the wreckage. The elevator doors closed, and I finally allowed myself to smile. It had been a long time coming, but the look on Adam's face had been worth every penny I'd invested in this moment. My phone buzzed with a text from Lauren. What the hell is wrong with you? I typed back. Just tired of being the backup plan. My sister Viv always said I had a talent for keeping secrets. Growing up, I'd been the kid who knew where Dad hid his beer money and which neighbor was having an affair, but I never said a word. Some people called it discretion. Viv called it being sneaky as hell. Turned out it was a useful skill in business. While everyone else was making noise about their deals and investments, I'd quietly been buying up distressed companies and undervalued properties. When Cartwright Industries hit a rough patch 3 years ago, I'd swooped in with a cash offer that saved them from bankruptcy. Cartwright was so grateful he barely read the paperwork before signing over controlling interest. I'd never told Lauren about the acquisition. Why would I? She was just starting at the company, and I didn't want her thinking I'd bought her way in. Besides, she seemed to enjoy feeling superior to her contractor husband. It kept her happy and gave me cover to operate without anyone paying attention to what I was really doing. But after tonight's dinner, the secret was out, and I had some serious thinking to do. I drove home through the empty streets, my mind racing. Lauren's reaction at the dinner had told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't embarrassed because I'd made a scene. She was embarrassed because I'd ruined whatever game she'd been playing with Adam. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. I'd bought it 2 years ago, a colonial in one of the better neighborhoods, but Lauren had insisted on decorating it herself. Everything was white and gray and chrome, like a magazine spread designed by someone who'd never actually lived in a house. I went straight to my basement office, the one room Lauren never bothered with because it didn't fit her aesthetic. While she was probably still at the dinner party doing damage control, I had work to do. The first thing I did was change all the passwords on our joint accounts. Then I called my lawyer. Viv, it's Ethan. I need you to come over. It's 11 o'clock at night, my sister said. This better be good. I just fired Lauren's boyfriend in front of half the company. There was a long pause. I'll be right there. Viv arrived 20 minutes later with a bottle of whiskey and a legal pad. She was 3 years older than me, with the same dark hair and sharp features, but she'd gotten all the formal education in the family. Harvard Law, big firm downtown, the kind of lawyer who could make opposing counsel wet themselves just by walking into a courtroom. Okay, she said, settling into the leather chair across from my desk. Start from the beginning. I told her about the dinner, about Adam's comments, about Lauren's reaction. Viv listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on her pad. So, you think she's having an affair? She said when I finished. I think she's been having an affair for months, maybe longer. Evidence? Just a feeling. The way she's been acting, the phone secrecy, the way she looked at him tonight. Viv tapped her pen against her lips. Feelings don't hold up in court. You need proof. I'm not looking to take her to court. I'm looking to end this marriage with my dignity intact. And your assets? Protected. The house is in my name, the business accounts are separate, and she signed a prenup. Viv raised an eyebrow. You had her sign a prenup. When? 6 months after we got married, told her it was for insurance purposes. And she bought that? She was in love. People in love don't read the fine print. My phone buzzed. Lauren, calling for the third time since I'd left the dinner. I let it go to voicemail. She's probably panicking, Viv said, trying to figure out how to spin this. Let her panic. I've got bigger concerns. I opened my laptop and pulled up the company files. As majority shareholder, I had access to everything: payroll, expenses, employee records, even security footage from the building. What are you looking for? Viv asked. Proof. If Lauren and Adam have been carrying on, there's got to be evidence somewhere. It didn't take long to find it. The company credit card records showed charges at the downtown Marriott, lunch meetings that lasted 3 hours, dinner conferences that happened on weekends when no conferences were scheduled. The building's keycard logs showed Lauren and Adam accessing the office at odd hours, often within minutes of each other. But the real jackpot was the security footage. Jesus Christ, Viv said, looking at the laptop screen. Is that them in the parking garage? It was. Lauren and Adam, 3 weeks ago, locked in an embrace next to his BMW. The timestamp showed 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. The same Tuesday Lauren had told me she was working late on a presentation. How long do you think this has been going on? Viv asked. Long enough. I closed the laptop. The question is, what do I do about it? Divorce her. Take her for everything she's worth. She's not worth anything. Everything we have, I earned. Then why are you so angry? I poured myself 3 fingers of whiskey and considered the question. Why was I angry? It wasn't like our marriage had been perfect. We'd grown apart over the past year, barely talking except about schedules and household maintenance. An intimacy had become perfunctory, the conversation stilted. Maybe we'd both been going through the motions, but the humiliation, that was different. The way Adam had looked at me, like I was some kind of joke, the way Lauren had laughed along with it, the way they'd all assumed I was too stupid to understand what was happening right in front of me. I'm angry because they thought I was an idiot, I said finally, because they thought they could play me. So prove them wrong. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Lauren. I'm coming home. We need to talk. I showed the message to Viv. You want me to stay? She asked. No, this is something I need to handle alone. Viv gathered her things and headed for the door. Call me if you need backup. And Ethan, don't do anything stupid. Define stupid. Anything that could land you in jail or cost you money. After she left, I sat in my office and waited. Lauren's car pulled into the driveway at 12:43 a.m. I heard her heels clicking across the hardwood floors upstairs, then the sound of her coming down to the basement. She appeared in my doorway still wearing the black dress, but her makeup was smudged and her hair was disheveled. She looked like she'd been crying. We need to talk, she said. Do we? What you did tonight, that was humiliating, for both of us. Was it? I thought it was clarifying. She stepped into the office and closed the door behind her. Adam didn't deserve that. He was just joking around. Adam was being a condescending asshole, and you were enjoying it. That's not... I wasn't... She stopped and took a breath. Look, I know things have been difficult between us lately. Have they? I hadn't noticed. Don't be like this, Ethan. We can work through this. I leaned back in my chair and studied her face. She was good. I had to give her that. The right amount of contrition mixed with defiance. The perfect balance of vulnerability and strength. If I hadn't seen the security footage, I might have even believed her. Work through what, exactly? I asked. The problems in our marriage? The distance between us? The way we've been living like roommates instead of husband and wife? And how do you suggest we do that? Counseling, communication, maybe a vacation, just the two of us. I nodded slowly. That sounds reasonable. When would you want to do this vacation? Soon. Maybe next month? Next month. Interesting timing. Her eyes flickered. What do you mean? Nothing, just thinking out loud. I stood up and walked to the window. Lauren, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you love me? The question hung in the air between us. I could see her reflection in the window, the way her face changed as she processed what I was asking. Yes, she said finally. Of course I love you. Good, because I need to know where we stand. I turned around to face her. She was standing in the middle of the room, her hands clasped in front of her like a schoolgirl waiting to be dismissed. Where we stand, she asked. In our marriage, in our life together, in our commitment to each other. We stand together, Ethan. We're a team. A team, right? I walked back to my desk and sat down. Then you won't mind if I make some changes at the company. What kind of changes? Personnel changes, policy changes, maybe some restructuring. Her face went pale. You can't just destroy people's careers because you're angry. Can't I? It's my company. It's not just about you. Other people work there. Other people depend on those jobs. Other people should have thought about that before they decided to disrespect me. Lauren's composure finally cracked. This is insane. You're talking about ruining lives over a stupid comment at a dinner party? Am I? Or am I talking about something else entirely? She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see the wheels turning in her head. How much did I know? How much had I figured out? How much trouble was she in? I don't know what you think you know, she said carefully. I know enough. Enough for what? I smiled. Enough to make some very interesting decisions about the future of Cartwright Industries, and about the future of our marriage. Lauren's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and I saw her face change. Adam? I asked. She didn't answer, but she didn't need to. The guilt was written all over her face. You should probably call him back, I said. Let him know that his severance package is going to be very, very small. Lauren turned and walked to the door. Before she left, she looked back at me. I never meant for it to happen, she said quietly. But it did happen. Yes. How long? 6 months. And you were planning to leave me. It wasn't a question, and she didn't treat it like one. I was planning to try to make us work. By sleeping with your coworker. By figuring out what I wanted. And what do you want, Lauren? She opened her mouth to answer, then closed it again. After a moment, she shook her head. I don't know anymore. After she left, I sat in my office for another hour, staring at the security footage on my laptop screen. 6 months. She'd been lying to me for 6 months, and I'd been too busy building my business empire to notice. But I noticed now, and I was going to make sure everyone else noticed too. The next morning, Lauren was gone before I woke up. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. Staying at Caitlin's for a few days. Need space to think. Caitlin Murphy was Lauren's best friend from work, a sharp-tongued redhead who worked in HR and seemed to know everyone's business. She'd never liked me much, probably because I didn't laugh at her jokes or pretend to be impressed by her stories about dating apps and wine tastings. I made coffee and checked my phone. 17 missed calls from various Cartwright Industries employees, including 3 from Cartwright himself. Word was spreading fast about last night's dinner party, and everyone wanted to know what came next. I decided to let them wonder. Instead, I drove to my construction site across town. Even though I'd moved into investments, I still kept my hand in the building trade. There was something satisfying about creating something tangible, something you could point to and say, I built that. My foreman, Sam Rodriguez, was waiting for me with coffee and a knowing grin. Sam was an ex-Marine who'd worked for me for 8 years. He was the kind of guy who could spot trouble from a mile away and wasn't afraid to walk toward it. Heard you had an interesting evening, he said. News travels fast. My cousin worked security at that building. Said there was quite a scene in the lobby after you left. What kind of scene? Your wife's boyfriend throwing furniture around, screaming about lawsuits. Had to call the cops. I sipped my coffee and considered this information. Adam was panicking, which meant he was going to make mistakes. Panicked people always made mistakes. What else did your cousin see? Your wife crying in the parking garage. Her friend trying to calm her down. Bunch of suits standing around looking confused. Sounds about right. Sam studied my face. You okay, boss? I mean, really okay? I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. You want to talk about it? I did, actually. Sam had been through a messy divorce himself a few years back. His ex-wife had cheated with his best friend, taken half his assets, and tried to turn his kids against him. He'd come out the other side scarred but wiser. I told him about Lauren and Adam, about the affair, about my plans for Cartwright Industries. Sam listened without judgment, occasionally nodding or asking clarifying questions. So, what's your endgame? He asked when I finished. I want them to understand what it feels like to be humiliated. I want them to know that actions have consequences. And then what? Then I move on with my life. Sam was quiet for a moment. You know, when Maria cheated on me, I wanted revenge too. Spent months planning ways to hurt her, to make her pay for what she'd done. Did you go through with it? Some of it. Made her life difficult for a while. Cost her some friendships, some opportunities. Did it make you feel better? For a while. But then I realized I was spending more time thinking about her than I had when we were married. She was still controlling my life, just in a different way. I understood what he was trying to tell me, but this was different. Lauren and Adam hadn't just betrayed me, they'd underestimated me. They'd assumed I was too stupid or too weak to fight back. That was a mistake I intended to correct. My phone rang. Cartwright. Mr. Graves, we need to talk. Do we? Please. This situation with Adam, it's caused quite a stir. The employees are worried about their jobs, the board is asking questions. What kind of questions? About your intentions, about the future of the company. I looked at Sam, who was pretending not to listen while obviously hanging on every word. I'll be in this afternoon, I told Cartwright. Set up a meeting with the senior staff. All of them? Everyone who was at dinner last night, and I want to address their concerns directly. After I hung up, Sam shook his head. You're really going to burn it all down, aren't you? Not burn it down, renovate it. I spent the rest of the morning reviewing personnel files and financial reports. Cartwright Industries was actually in decent shape, profitable, growing, with a solid client base. The problem wasn't the business, it was the culture. Too many people who thought they were untouchable, too much office politics, too much tolerance for mediocrity. Adam Voss was a perfect example. His performance reviews were average at best, but he'd been promoted twice in 3 years based on his ability to schmooze with clients and take credit for other people's work. He was exactly the kind of employee who made good companies stagnant. And Lauren? Her reviews were better, but she'd been coasting for the past year. Longer lunches, more personal calls, less attention to detail. I'd assumed she was just comfortable in her position, but now I knew she'd been distracted by her affair. At 2 o'clock, I walked into the Cartwright Industries conference room to find 12 nervous faces staring back at me. Cartwright was at the head of the table, looking like a man who'd aged 10 years overnight. Lauren's chair was conspicuously empty. Where's my wife? I asked. She called in sick, said Caitlin Murphy, Lauren's friend from HR. Her voice was carefully neutral, but her eyes were hostile. Sick? Right. I took the empty chair at the foot of the table. Well, let's get started. For the next hour, I laid out my vision for the company's future. Stricter performance standards, regular reviews, elimination of redundant positions. Nothing revolutionary, just basic business practices that should have been in place years ago. The room was silent when I finished. Questions? I asked. A junior marketing manager raised his hand tentatively. Are there going to be more layoffs? Only if people give me reasons to lay them off. What about Adam's replacement? Asked the sales director. I'm considering several candidates. The position will be filled based on merit, not politics. Caitlin cleared her throat. Mr. Graves, I think I speak for everyone when I say we're concerned about the personal nature of some of these decisions. Personal nature? The timing of Adam's termination, coming right after the dinner party incident. I leaned back in my chair and studied her face. Caitlin was fishing, trying to figure out how much I knew about Lauren and Adam. She was also protecting her friend, which I could respect, even if I didn't appreciate it. Adam was terminated for performance issues, I said. The timing was coincidental. But surely you can understand how it might look. How it looks is irrelevant. How it is what matters. The meeting ended with a lot of nervous glances and whispered conversations. As people filed out, Cartwright approached me. That went well, he said, though his tone suggested otherwise. Did it? They're scared, Ethan. These are good people who've been working here for years. Good people don't have anything to worry about. And the others? I smiled. The others should probably update their resumes. That evening, I drove to Murphy's Tavern, a dive bar near the construction site where Sam and I sometimes grabbed beers after work. The bartender, Barb, was a 60-year-old woman who'd seen everything and judged nothing. She also had an uncanny ability to know everyone's business before they knew it themselves. Heard you had some excitement at work, she said, sliding a beer across the bar. Word gets around. Word is your wife's been stepping out with some pretty boy from the office. I nearly choked on my beer. Where did you hear that? Honey, I've been tending bar for 30 years. I can spot a cheating spouse from across a crowded room. She leaned closer. Plus, they've been meeting at the Marriott downtown. My niece works the front desk there. How long has your niece been watching them? Long enough to get some interesting photos. Barb reached under the bar and pulled out a manila envelope. Inside were a dozen pictures. Lauren and Adam entering the hotel together, leaving together, kissing in the lobby, holding hands in the elevator. Your niece has a good eye, I said. She's studying photography at the community college. Considers this a learning experience. I studied the photos, noting the dates and timestamps. The affair had been going on longer than Lauren had admitted, closer to 8 months, not 6. What are you going to do with these? Barb asked. I'm not sure yet. Well, when you figure it out, let me know. I've got a soft spot for the wronged spouse. I was driving home when my phone rang. Lauren. Ethan, we need to talk. I thought you needed space to think. I did. I mean, I've been thinking, and I want to work this out. Work what out? Our marriage, our problems, everything. I pulled into a gas station parking lot. Where are you? Caitlin's apartment, but I can meet you somewhere. How about the Marriott downtown? I hear it's nice. There was a long silence. How did you... Never mind. Yes, we can meet there. Lobby bar, 1 hour. The Marriott was exactly what I'd expected. Overpriced and underdecorated. The kind of place that catered to business travelers and people having affairs. I found a corner table with a good view of the entrance and ordered a scotch. Lauren arrived 15 minutes late, looking nervous and overdressed in a burgundy blouse and black slacks. She'd spent time on her makeup, trying to cover the stress lines around her eyes. Thank you for meeting me, she said, sliding into the chair across from me. This is a nice place. Come here often? Her face flushed. Ethan, please, can we just talk? That's why I'm here. She ordered wine and took a long sip before speaking. I know you're angry. I know you feel betrayed. But we can get past this. Can we? Yes, if we both want to. Do you want to? Yes, of course I do. I pulled out my phone and showed her one of Barb's photos, Lauren and Adam kissing in this very lobby. This was taken 6 weeks ago, I said. You told me the affair started 6 months ago, but these photos go back 8 months. Lauren stared at the image, her face going pale. Where did you get this? Does it matter? Ethan, I can explain. Can you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been lying to me for the better part of a year. Tears started forming in her eyes. It wasn't supposed to happen. It developed over time. What developed? An intimacy or the lies? Both. Neither. I don't know. She wiped her eyes with a napkin. I was confused, unhappy. You were always working, always focused on your projects. I felt invisible. So you decided to become visible to Adam. It wasn't like that. What was it like? She was quiet for a long moment. It was exciting. He made me feel important, desired, like I mattered. And I didn't? You did. You do. But it was different with him. Different how? He saw potential in me. He talked about our future together, about what we could accomplish as a team. I leaned forward. What kind of future? Professional future. He was going to be CEO, and he wanted me as his VP of marketing. And personally? Another long silence. He said he loved me. Past tense? I don't know. Everything's so complicated now. I finished my scotch and signaled for another. It's not complicated, Lauren. You had an affair, you got caught, now there are consequences. What kind of consequences? Adam's been fired. You're probably going to be demoted or transferred. Your friends at work are going to choose sides. Your reputation is shot. And our marriage? I looked at her across the table, this woman I'd loved for 5 years, who'd shared my bed and my dreams and my secrets. She was still beautiful, still the person who'd made me laugh on our first date and cry at our wedding, but she was also a stranger now, someone who'd been living a double life for months. I don't know, I said honestly. I want to save it. Why? Because I love you. Or because Adam's not available anymore. She flinched like I'd slapped her. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I pulled out the rest of the photos and spread them on the table. Is this fair? 8 months of lies and betrayal and humiliation? Lauren stared at the photos, her face crumbling. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught? Both. At least she was being honest now. What do you want from me, Lauren? Forgiveness, a chance to make this right. And if I can't give you that, then I guess we both lose everything. I gathered up the photos and put them back in the envelope. You already lost everything. You just don't know it yet. I left her sitting in the lobby bar, crying into her wine glass. As I walked to my car, I felt something I hadn't expected. Sadness. Not for Lauren, but for the marriage we'd had before it all went wrong. For the future we'd planned that would never happen. For the trust that could never be rebuilt. But sadness wasn't going to stop me from finishing what I'd started. The next morning brought an unexpected visitor. I was in my kitchen, drinking coffee and reading the business section when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Adam Voss standing on my front porch, looking like he'd slept in his clothes. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. We need to talk, he said. Do we? This has gone far enough. You've made your point? I leaned against the doorframe. Have I? What point is that? That you're angry. That you feel disrespected. I get it, okay? But destroying people's careers isn't going to fix your marriage. Who said anything about fixing my marriage? Adam's eyes were bloodshot, and I could smell alcohol on his breath. He'd been drinking, which meant he was desperate. Desperate people made poor decisions. Look, I know you're upset about Lauren and me. Am I? Of course you are. Any man would be. But she chose you, Ethan. She married you, not me. And yet she's been sleeping with you for 8 months? His face flushed. It wasn't like that. What was it like? It was, complicated. I laughed. Everyone keeps using that word, complicated, as if having an affair requires a PhD in theoretical physics. You don't understand the situation. Then explain it to me. Adam ran his hands through his hair, leaving it even more disheveled than before. Lauren was unhappy. She felt neglected, unappreciated. She needed someone who could see her potential. And that someone was you. Yes, out of the goodness of your heart. Out of love. I studied his face, looking for signs of sincerity. You love her. Yes. Enough to marry her? If she'd have me? Even now that she's broke and unemployed? Adam's expression shifted slightly. What do you mean? I mean, Lauren doesn't have any money of her own. Everything she has access to comes from me. The house, the cars, the credit cards, all mine. She has her job. Had. Past tense. You can't fire her for having an affair. I can't? Watch me. Adam stepped closer, and for a moment I thought he might try to hit me. But he caught himself, took a step back, clenched his fists at his sides. This is about revenge, he said. Pure and simple. Is it? You're punishing us for falling in love? I'm punishing you for lying, cheating, and disrespecting me in my own house. Your house? My company, my investment, my rules. Adam was quiet for a long moment. What do you want? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I understand that. Do you? Because yesterday you were laughing at me in front of 20 people. Today you're standing on my porch begging for mercy. I'm not begging. Aren't you? He stared at me with a mixture of hatred and desperation. What would it take to make this go away? Nothing you can afford. Try me. I pretended to consider the question. Leave town, both of you. Find jobs somewhere else, start over, leave me alone. That's it? That's it. And if we don't? Then I make your lives very, very difficult. Adam nodded slowly. I'll talk to Lauren. You do that. After he left, I called Viv. How did the meeting go yesterday? She asked. About as expected, lots of nervous faces and awkward questions. And Lauren? Called in sick. We met for drinks last night. How did that go? She wants to work things out. And you? I want them gone. Viv was quiet for a moment. Ethan, are you sure about this? Once you start down this road, there's no going back. I'm sure. Okay, what do you need from me? Legal cover. I'm going to clean house at Cartwright, and I want to make sure I don't leave myself exposed to wrongful termination suits. I can handle that. Anything else? Yeah, I need you to file divorce papers. Another pause. You're sure? I'm sure. That afternoon, I drove to Cartwright Industries for an unscheduled visit. The office was buzzing with nervous energy, people talking in hushed voices, checking their phones constantly, looking over their shoulders. I found Caitlin Murphy in her office, typing furiously on her computer. Busy day? I asked from her doorway. She looked up, startled. Mr. Graves, I didn't expect to see you today. I was in the neighborhood. Mind if I come in? She gestured to the chair across from her desk. Of course. I sat down and looked around her office. Photos of her and Lauren at various company events, awards and certificates on the walls, a small plant that looked like it was dying from neglect. How's Lauren doing? I asked. She's processing everything. That's one way to put it. Caitlin leaned back in her chair. Mr. Graves, can I speak frankly? Please do. I think you're making a mistake. Which mistake is that? Letting your personal feelings affect your business decisions? I smiled. My personal feelings? Everyone knows what happened between Lauren and Adam, but destroying the company over a marital problem, that hurts everyone. Who's destroying the company? Aren't you? I'm restructuring it, making it more efficient. By firing people who've worked here for years? By firing people who don't add value. Caitlin's eyes flashed. Adam added value. He brought in 3 major clients last year. Did he? Or did his team bring in those clients while he took credit? That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Caitlin, but business should be honest. She was quiet for a moment. What about Lauren? What about her? She's good at her job. Her campaigns have increased brand awareness by 30%. Have they? Or have market conditions improved while she's been distracted by her affair? Caitlin's face flushed. You can't punish her professionally for her personal choices. Can't I? It's not legal. Actually, it is. She signed an employment contract with a morality clause. Workplace relationships that create conflicts of interest are grounds for termination. She didn't know you owned the company. Ignorance isn't a defense. I stood up to leave, then paused at the door. Caitlin, can I give you some advice? Do I have a choice? You're a good HR director. You know the law, you understand people, you're fair in your dealings, but you're also loyal to your friends, which I respect. Thank you. But loyalty has limits, and right now your loyalty to Lauren is putting your own job at risk. Her face went pale. Are you threatening me? I'm advising you. There's a difference. That evening, I met Sam at Murphy's Tavern. Barb was working the bar, and the usual crowd of construction workers and office drones was scattered around the dimly lit room. You look like a man with something on his mind, Sam said, sliding into the booth across from me. Adam came to see me this morning. Yeah? What did he want? To negotiate. What kind of negotiation? The kind where he and Lauren leave town, and I leave them alone. Sam took a long pull from his beer. You considering it? I'm considering a lot of things. Such as? Such as whether revenge is worth the effort. And I keep coming back to the same conclusion. Which is? They disrespected me. In public, in front of people who work for me. That can't go unanswered. Sam nodded. I get that. But there's disrespect, and then there's destruction. You sure you know which one you're after? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Lauren. Ethan, I need to see you. When? Now. It's important. Where are you? Home. Our home. I looked at Sam, who shrugged. I'll be there in 20 minutes, I told her. The house was dark except for the living room, where Lauren was sitting on the couch with a glass of wine and a box of tissues. She'd been crying, and she looked exhausted. Thank you for coming, she said. I sat in the chair across from her. What's so important? Adam came to see me today. Did he? He told me about your conversation, about your offer. And I want to know if you're serious. About what? About letting us go if we leave town. I leaned back in the chair. That depends. On what? On whether you're serious about leaving. Lauren set down her wine glass and looked directly at me. I love him, Ethan. I know. And he loves me. So he says, we want to be together. Then be together. But not here, not with all this hostility. Where would you go? Adam has a job offer in Seattle. Tech startup, good salary, room for advancement. And you? I'd find something. I'm good at what I do. I studied her face, looking for signs of deception. You'd really leave? Just pack up and start over? If it meant ending this war between you and him, yes. What about our marriage? What marriage? We've been living like strangers for months. Even before Adam, we were just going through the motions. She was right, and we both knew it. Our marriage had been dying a slow death long before Adam Voss came along. The affair had just been the final nail in the coffin. What do you want from me? I asked. A clean divorce, no alimony, no property division. I just want to walk away. And in return? We disappear. You never see us again. I considered the offer. It was clean, simple, and would save everyone a lot of pain. But it also felt like they were getting away with something, escaping the consequences of their actions. I need to think about it, I said. How long? Give me a week. Lauren nodded. Okay, but Ethan? Yeah? I am sorry. For lying, for cheating, for hurting you. I never wanted it to happen this way. But it did happen? Yes, it did. After she went upstairs, I sat in the dark living room and tried to figure out what I really wanted. Revenge, justice, peace, all of the above? My phone buzzed with a text from Viv. Papers are ready when you are. I typed back, not yet, still thinking. But even as I sent the message, I knew what I was going to do. Some things couldn't be forgiven, and some people couldn't be allowed to walk away without consequences. Lauren and Adam were about to learn that lesson the hard way. I spent the weekend thinking about Lauren's offer. Leave town, start over, disappear from my life forever. It was tempting in its simplicity, a clean break with no messy aftermath, no ongoing drama, no constant reminders of betrayal. But every time I considered accepting it, I remembered Adam's smirk at the dinner party, the way he'd looked at me like I was some kind of joke, the way Lauren had laughed along with it. Some things couldn't be forgiven with a simple goodbye. Monday morning, I called Cartwright and told him I wanted to address the entire company, not just senior staff, everyone. He tried to talk me out of it, said it would create more anxiety, more uncertainty. I told him that was exactly what I wanted. The meeting was scheduled for 2 o'clock in the main conference room. By 1:30, word had spread throughout the building, and people were gathering in small groups, whispering and speculating about what was coming. I arrived at exactly 2 o'clock to find 43 employees packed into a room designed for 20. People were standing along the walls, sitting on the floor, crowding around the doorway. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. "Thank you all for coming," I said, taking my position at the front of the room. "I know there's been a lot of speculation about the future of this company, so I thought it was time to set the record straight." I looked around the room, making eye contact with as many people as possible. Lauren wasn't there, she was still sick, but Caitlin was, along with most of the senior staff. First, let me address the elephant in the room. Oh, yes, I fired Adam Voss last week. Yes, it was sudden. No, it wasn't personal. A few people exchanged glances. Everyone knew that was a lie, but no one was going to call me out on it. Adam was terminated because his performance no longer met company standards. His replacement will be chosen based on merit, not politics or personal relationships. I paused to let that sink in. Second, there will be other changes coming. Some of you may find your positions eliminated or restructured. This isn't a reflection of your worth as people. It's a business decision based on efficiency and profitability. The room was silent. Third, I want to address the rumors about my marriage. Yes, my wife works here. Yes, we're having personal problems. No, those problems will not affect my business decisions. Another lie, but a necessary one. Finally, I want to make something clear. This company belongs to me. I built it, I fund it, and I make the final decisions about its future. If you're not comfortable with that arrangement, I understand. There's no shame in looking for opportunities elsewhere. I looked around the room one more time. Questions? A junior accountant raised her hand tentatively. Are there going to be layoffs? Probably. How many? As many as necessary. A marketing coordinator spoke up. What about severance packages? Standard company policy. 2 weeks for every year of service, with a minimum of 4 weeks. What about benefits? COBRA will be available for those who qualify. The questions continued for another 20 minutes, mostly practical concerns about timing, procedures, and logistics. No one asked about Lauren directly, but I could see the question in their eyes. When the meeting ended, people filed out in small groups, their conversations muted but intense. Caitlin lingered behind, clearly wanting to talk. "That was quite a performance," she said when we were alone. Was it a performance? Wasn't it? I gathered my notes and headed for the door. That depends on your perspective. Mr. Graves, wait. Caitlin followed me into the hallway. Can I ask you something? You can ask. What's the end game here? You destroy the company, fire half the staff, ruin people's careers, then what? Then I move on. To what? To whatever comes next? And Lauren? I stopped walking and turned to face her. What about Lauren? She's my friend. I care about what happens to her. Then you should advise her to find another job. She's good at what she does. Is she? Or is she good at office politics and networking? Caitlin's face flushed. That's not fair. Fair is a concept for children and philosophers. This is business. This is revenge. Is it? Or is it justice? What's the difference? I smiled. About 6 months and a lot of humiliation. That evening, I met with Viv at her downtown office. She'd prepared a comprehensive analysis of my legal position, complete with charts and precedents and risk assessments. The good news is you're bulletproof, she said, sliding the report across her desk. As majority shareholder, you have broad discretion over personnel decisions. The employment contracts are solid, the severance packages are generous, and the morality clauses are enforceable. And the bad news? You're going to make a lot of enemies. Some of these people have been with the company for years. They have relationships in the industry, connections with clients and vendors. So? So they can make things difficult for you down the road. Bad publicity, client defections, regulatory scrutiny. I flipped through the report, noting the highlighted sections and margin notes. What about Lauren specifically? She's the most vulnerable. The affair with Adam creates a clear conflict of interest, especially since he was her supervisor. You can terminate her for cause without severance. And divorce? Clean and simple. The prenup is ironclad, and her adultery voids any claim to spousal support. I closed the report and leaned back in my chair. How long? For the divorce? 6 months if it's uncontested. Longer if she fights it. She won't fight it. How can you be sure? Because she wants out as much as I do. Viv studied my face. You're really going through with this. I'm really going through with this. Any second thoughts? None. What about forgiveness? Moving on? Taking the high road? I laughed. The high road is overrated. Wednesday morning, I walked into Lauren's office to find her packing her personal belongings into a cardboard box. She looked up when she saw me, her eyes red from crying. I heard about the meeting, she said. Did you? Caitlin told me. She's worried about her job. She should be. Lauren taped up the box and set it on her desk. I've been thinking about your offer. My offer? About leaving town, starting over. And? Adam got the job in Seattle. They want him to start next month. Congratulations. We're going to take it. I sat down in the chair across from her desk. Just like that? Just like that. What about your career here? Your friends? Your life? Lauren looked around her office. The awards on the walls, the photos of company events, the small personal touches that had made this space her own. What career? What life? You've made it clear that I don't have a future here. You could fight me, file a wrongful termination suit, make things difficult. I could, but what would be the point? Pride, principle, justice. She laughed bitterly. Justice? Is that what you call this? I call it consequences. Lauren stood up and walked to the window overlooking the parking lot. Do you remember our first date? Of course. That little Italian place downtown. You were so nervous you knocked over your water glass twice. I remember. You told me about your dreams, building your own company, making something that would last. You were so passionate, so determined. I still am. Are you? Or are you just angry? I joined her at the window. Can't I be both? I suppose you can. She turned to face me. I loved that man, the one who had dreams instead of just grievances. That man was naive. Maybe, but he was also happy. Happiness is overrated. Is it? We stood there in silence for a moment, looking out at the city where we'd built our lives together, where we'd fallen in love, gotten married, planned a future that would never happen. I'm sorry, Ethan, she said quietly, for all of it. I know. Do you forgive me? I considered the question. Did I forgive her? Could I forgive her? Did it even matter? I don't know, I said honestly. Will you ever? I don't know that either. Lauren picked up her box and headed for the door. Adam and I leave next Friday. The divorce papers can be sent to my lawyer. What lawyer? I'll find one. Viv can recommend someone who won't try to drag this out. Okay. She paused at the door and looked back at me. For what it's worth, I hope you find what you're looking for. What am I looking for? Peace, happiness, someone who appreciates the man you used to be. After she left, I sat in her empty office for a long time, thinking about the man I used to be. The one who'd knocked over water glasses and talked about dreams instead of revenge. The one who'd believed in love and trust and happily ever after. That man was gone, replaced by someone harder, smarter, more cynical. Someone who understood that the world was full of people who would take advantage of kindness and mistake generosity for weakness. I didn't miss him. My phone buzzed with a text from Sam. Beer tonight? You look like you could use one. I typed back, rain check. I have work to do. There was still one more score to settle. Adam Voss lived in a trendy loft downtown, the kind of place that cost $3,000 a month and came with exposed brick walls and industrial lighting. I'd looked up his address in the company files, along with his salary, his credit score, and his employment history. It was Thursday night, and Lauren had told me they were leaving for Seattle the next day. I wanted to have one final conversation with the man who'd helped destroy my marriage. I parked across the street and waited. At 9:15, Adam's BMW pulled into the building's parking garage. I gave him 10 minutes to get settled, then walked across the street and pressed his buzzer. Yeah? His voice crackled through the intercom. It's Ethan Graves. We need to talk. There was a long pause. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's a great idea. Buzz me up, or I'll wait here all night. Another pause, then the door clicked open. Adam's loft was exactly what I'd expected. Minimalist furniture, abstract art, a kitchen that looked like it had never been used for actual cooking. He was waiting for me in the living room, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "What do you want?" he asked. "To say goodbye." "We said goodbye last week." "Did we? I don't remember that conversation." Adam gestured to a chair, but I remained standing. "Lauren told me you're not fighting the divorce." "Why would I fight it?" "Spite. Revenge. The usual reasons." I walked to the window and looked out at the city lights. "I'm not a spiteful person, Adam." "Aren't you?" "No. I'm a practical person. Fighting a divorce costs money and time and emotional energy. I'd rather spend those resources on more productive activities." "Such as?" "Such as making sure you understand the consequences of your actions." Adam's jaw tightened. "I thought we were past all that." "Are we?" "Lauren and I are leaving town. You're getting your divorce. Everyone gets what they want." I turned away from the window. "Do they? Don't they?" "You tell me. You're unemployed, blacklisted in the industry, and starting over in a city where you don't know anyone. Lauren's burned her bridges here and given up a career she spent 10 years building. I'm getting divorced and losing half my personal life. Does that sound like everyone getting what they want?" Adam was quiet for a moment. "What's your point?" "My point is that actions have consequences. You can't just walk away from the damage you've caused and pretend it never happened." "What damage? A failed marriage? A few hurt feelings?" I laughed. "A few hurt feelings. Is that what you think this is about? Isn't it?" "Adam, let me explain something to you. When you made those comments at the dinner party, you weren't just insulting me. You were undermining my authority in front of my employees. You were making me look weak and foolish to people who depend on me for their livelihoods." "That wasn't my intention." "Wasn't it? You knew I owned the company. Lauren told you months ago." Adam's face went pale. "She what?" "She told you I was the majority shareholder. She told you about my business interests, my investments, my plans for the company's future." "No, she didn't." "Didn't she? Then how did you know to make those comments about being a backup husband? How did you know exactly which buttons to push?" Adam sat down heavily on his couch. She said you were just a contractor, that you didn't understand business, and you believed her? Why wouldn't I?" I pulled out my phone and showed him a screenshot of Lauren's text messages, the ones I'd recovered from her company phone, messages where she detailed my business holdings, my net worth, my plans for Cartwright Industries. "She was feeding you information," I said, "setting you up to humiliate me." Adam read the messages, his face growing paler with each line. "This doesn't make sense." "Doesn't it? She loves me. We're in love. Are you, or were you just useful to each other?" "Useful how?" "You were her ticket to a promotion and a corner office. She was your inside information about the company's real ownership structure." Adam looked up from the phone. "You're lying." "Am I? Check the dates on those messages. They start 3 weeks before the dinner party. 3 weeks of her telling you exactly how to push my buttons, exactly what to say to make me lose my temper." "Why would she do that?" "Because she wanted out of our marriage, but she didn't want to be the villain. She wanted me to be the one who ended it, so she could play the victim." Adam stared at the messages for a long time. "She said you were controlling, possessive, that you didn't appreciate her." "Maybe I was, maybe I didn't. But that doesn't change what she did." "What we did?" "No, Adam. What she did. You were just the weapon she used to destroy our marriage." I took back my phone and headed for the door. "Enjoy Seattle." "Wait." Adam stood up. "If this is true, if she was manipulating both of us, then why are you letting us go?" I paused at the door. "Who says I'm letting you go?" "The job offer, the clean divorce, the fresh start." "There is no job offer." Adam's face went white. "What?" "I called the company in Seattle, told them about your termination for performance issues, your involvement in a workplace scandal, your questionable ethics. They withdrew their offer yesterday." "You bastard!" "Maybe, but I'm an honest bastard. What about Lauren? Does she know?" "She'll find out soon enough." I opened the door and stepped into the hallway. "Adam, one more thing." "What?" "The next time you decide to have an affair with someone's wife, make sure you know who you're dealing with first." I left him standing in his doorway, staring after me with a mixture of rage and despair. By the time he figured out what Lauren had really been doing, it would be too late to matter. Friday morning, I was in my office when Viv called. "It's done," she said. "Divorce papers filed, restraining order in place, asset protection complete." Restraining order? Just a precaution. When Lauren finds out about Seattle, she might not take it well. She'll take it exactly as well as she deserves to. Ethan, are you sure about this? There's still time to change course. I'm sure. What about forgiveness? Moving on, being the bigger person? Viv, let me ask you something. When Maria cheated on Sam, what did you advise him to do? That was different. How? Sam didn't own his ex-wife's company. He couldn't destroy her career with a phone call. So I should be held to a different standard because I'm successful? Viv was quiet for a moment. Maybe you should be held to a higher standard because you have the power to be merciful. Mercy is earned, not given. And you don't think Lauren has earned it? Do you? Another pause. No, I suppose I don't. At noon, I drove to the airport. Not to catch a flight, but to watch one leave. Lauren and Adam's plane to Seattle was scheduled to depart at 1:15 p.m. I wanted to see them when they realized there was no job waiting for them. I found them at the gate, sitting close together, holding hands and talking quietly. Lauren looked nervous, but hopeful. Adam looked like a man trying to convince himself everything was going to work out. At 12:45, Adam's phone rang. I watched his face change as he listened to whoever was on the other end. Confusion, then disbelief, then anger. He hung up and turned to Lauren. I couldn't hear what he said, but I could see her reaction. The color drained from her face, and her hand flew to her mouth. They argued for a few minutes, quiet, intense words that drew stares from other passengers. Then Adam stood up and walked away, leaving Lauren sitting alone at the gate with their luggage. She called after him, but he didn't turn around. A few minutes later, she gathered her bags and followed him, but by then he was already gone. I watched her standing in the middle of the terminal, surrounded by strangers, with nowhere to go and no one to call. She looked lost, defeated, utterly alone. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. The moment passed. I drove home to my empty house and poured myself a drink. On my desk was a stack of business proposals, investment opportunities, and acquisition targets. Tomorrow, I would start building something new, something better, something that belonged entirely to me. Tonight, I would celebrate the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You win. I hope you're happy. I typed back, happiness has nothing to do with it. But as I sat in my study, surrounded by the evidence of my success and the wreckage of my marriage, I realized something important. I was happy. For the first time in months, maybe years, I was genuinely, completely happy. Not because I'd gotten revenge, though that was satisfying. Not because I'd proven my point, though that was important. I was happy because I was finally free. Free from a wife who'd never respected me, from friends who'd never really known me, from a life built on other people's expectations and compromises. I raised my glass to the empty room. To the backup plan, I said aloud. May it always be better than the original. Outside, the sun was setting over the city I'd conquered. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new victories. But tonight, I would savor this one.